Welcome to Tiger Computer Class as we look at your introduction to Excel. Excel, of course, is a spreadsheet program useful for a lot of different things. A lot of people use it for budgeting, a lot of data spreadsheets, different things like that. In general, as we look at this, we have a very similar setting to other Microsoft programs with our tabs and our ribbons. And then, of course, the key thing that makes Excel unique are the columns and the rows and how the data can be inputted into this program. Our goal for these tutorials that we're about to go through is to basically create what you're seeing on the screen here. And at first glance, it might not look that impressive, but in the end, you're going to see we have a lot of different functions being used here together with the graphing that's going on here. Which can make a lot of processes much easier to do. So let's get started with this. As you open up Excel, whether you're using 2013 or 2010, you're going to get something that looks very, very similar to this, and we're going to go ahead and start entering the information. Hopefully you have the tutorial in front of you at some time, and we can start looking at what we need to do. All right. So we're going to go to B1, and we're going to type that message that you see in the All right, so I've entered the text in there, and you can see how it kind of fills up this and kind of starts going into column C and D, and we're going to talk about how to change that overflow in just a minute. What we're going to do now is you're going to enter the rest of the information that you see on the top of the second page of the tutorial, kind of just clicking on the boxes as you see fit and filling in that information. All right, as you have this information now plugged in, you can see that these text boxes or these cells are kind of overflowing into the next row, and as long as there's nothing in these next cells, everything's going to stay there. It's going to look real nice, but in a minute we're going to start entering information in here, and you're going to see that suddenly our names get cut off, and we're going to talk about how to adjust that in just a minute. But right now what I want you to do is I want you to go back to B1. I want you to change the font size to 16. Let's make it bold. We're going to add some contrast to our table here, and I'm going to do the same thing here with that. You can see how I just dragged across and selected there, and then I'm going to take this and make that bold also. And so I have a lot of nice stuff. Once you have that done, then you can see on your display on your screen there are some numbers to plug in for all these quiz and tests. So go ahead and plug that information in. All right, now that the information is entered in, you can see how our names are really cut off here. Does not look good. Would not be a very good way to present this table. So let's talk about how to change that. If you take your cursor up, kind of up here, you can see you go from this big bold cross in between the A and the B column. You see how those arrows appear, and if I just click and drag here, I can adjust the columns to what I want it to be like. And so that's really the quick, fast way to adjust things. If you want to be a lot more precise, if I change my shape to that look like that, and I select the whole column, then I can go up here to Format, and I have lots of different options here about changing the size of the cells. Auto fit column width is what we're going to do here, and that's going to put it right in line with all the names that we have there in that sense. All right. Another thing you might be thinking about is you're looking at the title there, and you're saying, are there other ways that we can align things to make things look nice? Maybe we want to change these so they're right aligned. It makes it a little bit clearer to see compared to the left align here. Left align is always the given choice. And I'm going to take these ones and I'm going to right align all of these ones also. Make it a little cleaner in that sense. And I can do the same thing with this. I'm looking up here at my sample gradebook program, my title, and now that I've kind of done all this arrangement, you can see that the title itself is not really centered in between columns A through H. It's to the left, and so there's ways to center that also. And so what I can do is I'm going to select, all right, A through H1, all right, A1 through H1, all right, and so I've taken all those, and I'm going to go up to what's called merge and center, and there's an option here, merge and center, merge across, just merge the cells. I'm going to choose merge and center, and when I do that, you can see basically it took all of those 8 boxes and made one big cell, and then of course centered the text within that cell, so it makes it look nice and neat. A really good thing to do, and merging is going to be an important part of what's happening in your time with Excel. All right, if you haven't quite gotten all of this done, go ahead, pause your video, and catch up to where I'm at right now, getting your alignments so your page looks like mine. I'm going to go ahead now then and move on to what's known as the function bar here, which is this f of x insert function. And we're going to see that there's a lot of cool things you can do here. And this is really the power of Excel here, what makes it a really awesome program to be using. So you can see right now that we have some information missing. We have average points and total points are both missing from our table. And that's kind of where we're going to finish off with this. We're going to use some functions to figure out how to insert these different ideas. Now, if I just click f of x, you can see I have lots of different options, sum, average, and we're going to talk about if statements and different those things as you get to different areas within this program. All right. So this is what I'm going to do. All right, so we're going to start by going to B8, which is this cell right here, and I'm going to click the function, and hopefully you figured out what we're going to be doing here, and we're going to do an average, so I click average, and then I click OK. And you have your function arguments box come up, and you see a number of different things, a number of different kinds of data coming up already. So first of all, up here, you see the equal sign. Equal sign is something you always use when using a function. Just a part of how Excel works, but allows you to really understand it. We're finding average. And then you have these parentheses talking about, what area do we want to find the average of. So as we're looking at quiz 1, we're finding the average number of points that the students earned. So we're going from B3, which is right here, down to B7. And so we say B3 to B7, which you can also see typed here. You can also go to this little box right here and kind of select the ones that you want to choose if you're not quite sure what numbers or what combinations you need. All right. Now, if I click OK, you're going to notice that there it is. It solved it for me. I don't have to do all the math, which is, if you really don't love math, you're going to love this program because it does all the math for you. All right. Now, we could spend time going from each one of these cells and doing the exact same thing, going to function average, but that takes a lot of time. All right. Excel was made for people who want to do things faster. And so what they determined was, let's make it easy to copy things. Copy the formula that we just had. And so you can see my cursor has changed to a smaller crosshair. And so as I click that and I drag it over, it's going to copy. All right. And so if I click there, you see how average is still the function we're using, but now it went C3 to C7. And I can actually drag it over lots of different ways, and it's going to keep adjusting that function up here to meet what I need it to do. All right. And so we have that really cool little option working with Excel. All right, from here we're going to move on to our next row, working with total points. We're looking at Joe Johnson total points, and we're going to do another function. Hopefully you can guess what function we're going to use here. If we're going to find his total, that's going to work with sum. So we're going to click OK. We're going to double check making sure it's doing it right. We got equal sign sum. It's going all of Joe Johnson, so B3, C3, D3, E3, F3, and all that's going to be placed into G3. And so I can place that there like that. Once again, I can kind of use my trigger to go down here and figure out what's going on with this idea, right? And then I can actually drag that all the way down like that, and things are going to work out real nice. So I have all this information available for me. All right. Now it's important that you're using these functions. You're not just, I know all the numbers are right there on your page in front of you and you really could type them all in, but part of your grade that I'll be looking at is I will click on the cell and I will see this function here. So make sure you're using these functions to complete this assignment. All right, your gradebook should look like this then. As we move on, we can see in row 8 there are some different numbers, right? Some have decimal places, some don't, and we definitely want consistency with that. So I'm going to select that whole row. I can go up to Format again, and if I go down to Format Cells, you can see a new window pops up, and I can actually go to Number here, and now I can start to choose how many decimal places, different things like that, to show when it comes to working with my numbers. And so I'm going to go ahead and make this down to 1 decimal place. And once I click OK, then now you can see all the numbers have decimal places. Obviously, if it was a 0 as that placeholder, we can use that there. All right. Now, if this was a real grade book and we're in the middle of the year and then suddenly someone transfers over, you might have to add a new student. Teachers do that from time to time. And so we want to insert someone new, and this is a good thing to be able to do. We're going to enter him right below Melanie Martin right now. So if I click on A8 right here, all right, and then I can go up to my cells window and I can click Insert, and you can see the different options there. I'm going to insert a whole row, not just a cell. That way I can plug in all the information that is there. All right. Once you have done that, you can see the paragraph with all the information that you're going to need. So go ahead and plug in that information. All right, so that information is plugged in there, and hopefully you notice that as you're plugging that information, all your numbers down here were changing because of the functions that you put in there. They keep adjusting as you put in new information, which is a really cool feature. You don't have to recalculate anything. Now, you may have noticed before that our names were in alphabetical order, but of course, now we have Jerry Jones in here. Things aren't in alphabetical order. However, Excel is going to allow us to sort our students, and so I can go ahead and select A3 to, we don't just want the names to change, we want to go all the way to G8 like this. Okay, that way all our information is going to move, not just the names. That way the names still go with the correct scores. Now once I've done that, I can go up to my filtering up here and sorting, and I can choose this option here. I can go to sort A to Z, and you can see that now everyone's in order and all the scores changed, and so things are looking real good when it comes to our table. All right, I was throwing a lot at you for the first time in Excel. If you have some questions on what I did in different places, go ahead and rewind the video and take a look at those things. And start to put this stuff into memory, as eventually you will get tested on this stuff. Creating functions, formatting a table like this. Go ahead and take a look at the rubric when it comes to how you'll be graded on this. And when you're finished, you can save your file as Excel 1. Right, I'll just click save just so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Excel 1 and then your name, and then you can of course share that with me on OneDrive. All right, that is Excel 1.